You've worked hard for decades to earn something most people spend their whole life chasing, and that's time. But here's the catch. When we finally get that time, it's easy to spend it buying more stuff. What if instead you built your retirement wish list around moments that stay with you forever? That's what we're diving into today. Why retirement should not be about filling your house full of stuff, but it's about filling your life with precious memories. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss this.
Welcome into Legacy Beyond Wealth. As you can see by the name of the show, we talk about a lot of topics that go beyond wealth. And another example of that today is talking about retirement. It's not just about the things you're buying, right? It's about those experiences. So as we get into this today, remember, you can always get in touch and book a time to sit down and have the discovery call with Rob and the team at AxioWM.com is the place to do that. But Axio Wealth will help you kind of build that approach to wealth management. They help you find success well beyond what your bank account and your bank statements look like. And today's another kind of a spin on that, Rob. And I like this one as well, because I know you've talked quite a bit in the past in some of these videos as well, that retirement isn't just about really what you can afford. It's about what you want to feel, which is a kind of interesting spin I think you put on this that not everybody is going to probably have heard before. So what do you mean by that when you talk about it's about what you want to feel?
Yeah. And, we talk all the time that, why wealth management is what we're known for. What really sets us apart is our ability to help people unlock the financial freedom to live their best life. And I think when we talk about feel, it's that feel of that financial freedom that comes along with retirement or hitting that point where we don't have to work anymore unless we want to. But, that time is the real luxury that's out there. To be able to take and be able to spend it how you want. And if you think about it, most people work 30 years or more just to be able to get to that point that they can be able to have that freedom to be able to decide what it is they want to be able to do because they've got that financial security taken care of. And that's the real luxury is that time and that freedom that's there.
As we age, I think we start kind of appreciating those experiences a little bit more. I think early on, it's about what you can buy, having this kind of newfound freedom with money. But I'm curious from your perspective, why do you think these experiences have this kind of greater long-term impact than these purchases you might make materially?
Yeah, I think that you look back and, we talked about opening segment here about how we feel about things and what is that feeling. And, sometimes we fill different voids in our life with purchases that might be out there, but those are going to lead to emptiness some point down the road. And I can't tell you how many clients, you do this for a period of time, you're helping people the last 20 years from start to retirement to where they're getting to the point to graduate to that next phase. And, when you get to people that are there on their deathbed and having those conversations with them, boy, it's great to be able to talk with those that are reminiscing about the memories that they've had, the impact that they've had on their kids and their community, rather than talking about the greatest purchase that they ever made, whether it be, furniture or gadgets or upgrades to homes or how big the home was. At the end of the day, I've just found not a lot of people care much about that at the end, but what they really value more is about how they took and spent the time to have the most meaningful impact that they possibly can.
Yeah, it's so true. When you look back on life, you remember those moments, the trips you've taken, that sort of thing. And again, as you get older, I think you appreciate that more and more. So as we talk about planning for retirement, thinking about our retirement and how we want it to feel, how can you kind of rethink the way you look at kind of your wish list for retirement?
Yeah, I think that, a lot of times we think about retirement and we go, what's got to be my rate of return on my assets to sustain my retirement? And while that's important, I think we also have to take a look at your emotional return on your investments and ask yourself, would a trip that's multi-generational create some memories that would have an impact that would give you a return, not necessarily a monetary return, but that emotional return that you could be able to have out there. And why that's really important is, neuroscience has come out and it shows that, having experiences in your life brings more sustained happiness than possessions. And I think sometimes we get that backwards a little bit. And those shared experiences, particularly with those that are closest to you and mean the most to you, being ideally your family, can create something that is the most precious and most prized possession that you could be able to have. And the second part of that is what I would suggest with people, and I'm really bad at this, but we want to take pictures and document those memories. I remember being on vacations and making sure that those photos are taken to document it. And it's cool to be able to sit down, my wife and I, maybe we're getting to be that old couple now, I don't know, but we love watching and looking back and seeing the memories that we've created. And boy, that adds much more fulfillment than looking at the couch and determining, was it top grain leather or cloth that we bought that's bringing us more happiness.
So how do you help someone at Axio Wealth then go through this process? And as you're talking about their retirement and talking about kind of their wish list and trying to get a better idea of what they want to accomplish or what they want to feel in retirement, how are you helping them rethink the way they approach that?
Yeah, I think we talk about living their best life, having the financial freedom to be able to live their best life. But if you don't have that best life defined, it's really hard to be able to plan those experiences that can help it. But if we talk about that best life with people, it's really not so much about what should I buy or how much can I afford to be able to spend on buying stuff, whether it should be more about how do I want to feel? Who do I want to create memories with and connections with and deepen relationships with? And so, we try to map out experiences to match different emotions. So those that, talk about their interest being an adventure, we're talking about traveling or hiking or learning a new skill. The connections, doing family reunions or volunteer trips, or one of my favorite is legacy projects. People might ask, what is a legacy project? But my in-laws have some property that they own, and boy, we go out there and just working together to improve that property, and we go out there twice a year. Boy, it sure has built memories as we go back and we look at all the improvements that we've done on a property. And the other thing might just be once in a lifetime events as you talk about different things that are out there. Maybe that's attending a Broadway premiere or a World Cup or a championship series in a sports team or any of those types of things. But you have to remember that you have to be intentional about it because time has this way of slipping away from us. I think about that hourglass with the sand, if you know what I'm talking about there, Ben. How sometimes we watch it and it's like sand in our hands and it can slip through unless we're very proactive with that time and very intentional. And so that's really where it kind of shifts when we're talking about, yes, the traditional type of financial planning is important, but we also have to talk about how do we do this other type of planning to making sure we're living that life of significance, that best life you want to have, to live it to its fullest.
Are you ready to unlock the freedom to live your best life? Schedule your no-cost 60-minute discovery meeting with our team today. During this session, we'll take the time to understand your family's story and financial dreams. Together, we'll craft a personalized roadmap designed to help you achieve your goals. Let's explore how we can unlock the freedom for you and your family to thrive. Just click the link in the description of today's show to get started.
Well, how do you get over that mentality of buying stuff then? I mean, this is something we all struggle with, I'm sure, right? I mean, we want to be buying things. Oftentimes purchases make us feel better, but how can you help break that idea and that mindset?
Yeah, I think, I was talking to my teenage son the other day about this, and in our brains, we got this drug called dopamine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I think we look at different apps that are out there on our phone, and it's so easy to get on there and be like, oh, yeah, I want to buy this. And we hit the button and it gets delivered to us sometimes that same day, and it gives us that short term dopamine hit. But that's not lasting, it's not sustaining. And usually that leads to more of it needing to happen on a regular basis than probably it needs to. So we need to have that shift by being able to look at what that lasting fulfillment is. I love using a pause rule. My youngest son came up to me the other day and he was not happy and asked him what was wrong. And he said Roblox had taken all of his money. And we give him a small debit card that he earns and we put money on. But we do that to try to teach him experiences along the way. And he got caught up in the moment with that short-term dopamine hit and spent probably more money than he needed to on an online game that left a very little fulfillment that's out there. And it was interesting. He actually handed me his card and said, Dad, can you hold on to this for a while so I don't get tempted to be able to spend more on it? And I thought that was a great lesson for him to learn. Probably the best investment I made was buying and putting a little bit of money on his card so he could buy that roadblocks. But I think we call it a pause rule. Just pausing for a moment and seeing if you really need that item. I was talking with my son that sometimes people will take their credit cards and put them in the freezer in a bucket of ice, a small container of ice. And the idea being that you have to wait for that ice to melt before we really feel like we need to spend that. And the idea being there more about breaking those short-term dopamine hits, but focusing on those long-term experience as well. So when I start to have that urge to be able to maybe spend on some items, what I love is my wife and I have already planned out our next vacations for the next year that we want to be able to do, what memories we want to be able to create. And that's really important. And then we make sure we have an experience fund that can fund those opportunities. And now when it comes down to it, we look at it and we tell the kids, hey, would you rather buy this item you're begging us to be able to buy, or do we go on this trip and have this experience? And you know what happens? They almost always pick what?
Trip.
The trip. Even the trip to just go see grandma out of state is one that they look forward to and they value over material items. And so I think it's got to be overcoming the short-term dopamine hit by having other items to replace it. And you got to have those experiences lined out and the money set aside for it that can help you look towards that to help keep you in the right mindset versus buying a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And great lesson for your child to learn. I mean, I think we all learned that lesson. Better do it on a small scale than the larger scale later in life. So that was good. All right, let's tie it all together then, Rob. It's all about legacy, right? So much of what you do with your clients is all about legacy, and with that in mind. So how did this idea of experiences over purchases, how does that all tie into what you do?
I think the best example I could give is a few weeks ago, we took our kids and flew out to a short trip to visit my grandma. She just turned 100 last year. And boy, she lives in Fresno, California, and you wouldn't think about kids getting excited to go on a vacation trip to Fresno, California. But we all were so excited because we were there to see grandma and to share stories and experiences, and for them to be able to get to know her every time that they're around her. That means so much to me. And that's really about creating that legacy, is by having that intergeneration connection with family that can have a lasting impact out there. So if you can think about it, as we kind of tie this all together, imagine waking up and your calendar's full, just not of appointments, but also with the adventures you want to be able to have, that your kids and grandkids are telling stories you've created together that'll be passed down from one generation to the other. Now, that's the kind of return on investment that no purchase can be able to match, because retirement isn't about filling your house. It's about filling your life.
Very good, Rob. Well said, as always. I think this is an important reminder. I think we all kind of understand that experiences are more important than purchases, but to really kind of hammer that home and build that into your retirement and talk about how you want to feel and what you want to feel is so important, having that lasting legacy that I think so many people yearn for in retirement. So hopefully this video helps you out. If it did, please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that support. Leave a comment too if you have a question for Rob, or reach out directly and begin with that discovery call. You can do that at axiowm.com. Rob, appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ben.